All right, everyone, welcome to this new moon weekend Sidereal Astrology forecast for August 10th through the 12th of 2018. All right, so this weekend we do have a new moon right on the cusp between Friday and Saturday in Leo. So time of new beginnings, we'll notice more momentum being built as we get into next week, but subtle time now of essentially integrating these Leo qualities. So Leo, the lion, is about cultivating essentially the things that give us joy in life, right? Asking ourselves, what gives us joy? And cultivating these things. Also the things that we're proud of, the things that we create, what are our passions, our enjoyments. This type of stuff certainly being developed and will likely be the theme for this upcoming lunar month. So along with this new moon, we're going to have that new moon conjunct Mercury retrograde. So maybe still some reconsideration, of course, as has been the case. Maybe learning about some of these passions and things that we do enjoy or want to create. And there will be a square up to Jupiter. So good to see the broader perspective. If you're feeling a bit of open-mindedness, great. It's great to be constructive with this. And then also see things practically. So how can we see things possibly and also practically and really integrate and set the intention to develop these things constructively. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the chart for the new moon. Here is the new moon, sun and moon conjunction right at the beginning of Leo. This is going to be at 04:33 Eastern time on Saturday. So you can do the calculations there depending on where you are in the world. Now, as you can see here, we are using the actual size of the constellations as seen in the visible sky. All right, seen in the sky, some constellations are larger and smaller than others. So this is taking that into account, which does change the signs from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to the channel and do notice some of the signs I'm mentioning are different, be sure to check out the link down below for more information. All right, so new moon in Leo, the lion essentially cultivating this energy of self-expression, right? What is it that sparks that inner flame? What is it we enjoy in life? Cultivating, you know, some of these things and that inner flame. So within the inner flame and then externally, of course, anything that might be a creation, hobbies, interests, the things we find fun and entertaining. Sometimes, you know, those sort of outlets that are the things that, you know, give us more energy and vital life force. What gives us that vital life force and passion and energy? Really good time to be sort of, right now with the new moon, just becoming integrated and perhaps reflecting on some of this with the conjunction up to Mercury retrograde. As we get into next week, we'll slowly notice a bit more of this momentum being built, and then we'll be really grounding a lot of this type of energy. So good to just acclimate with this over the weekend here. Now, this is going to be a partial solar eclipse, very minor, somewhat close to the North Node. So this could be a new shift along our life journey in some way. So good to, you know, be aware of that. What are some shifts and changes we may want to make, maybe in a yearly sense? That might be a new shift regarding where we want to head, what have we been learning, and just kind of this life path direction that maybe we felt this past 6 months or 12 months, depending on the perspective there. All right, so that's the most important thing. New moon in Leo, cultivation of those passions, what gives us joy in life, our self-expression fundamentally. And this will be conjunct up to Mercury retrograde, who went retrograde in Leo, and now who is going back into Cancer. So good time to be still mulling over things, maybe reconsidering things. You know, Mercury retrograde is all about having that flexibility because information's changing. We're seeing things in new perspectives. So we want to be as flexible as possible, be willing to use this time to reconsider, rethink, maybe specifically rework some of these things, right? And as we get into next week, maybe starting to think about things in terms of what gives us the emotional satisfaction. This whole new cycle will be about what gives us fire, and again, ignites that inner flame. But with the Mercury side of it, there's also going to be our minds sort of going maybe back into the past, back into listening to our emotional body, our soul, for the foundation of emotion, which then leads into the self-expression. We can't have Leo without a connection to our feelings and what's important to us intrinsically on that soul level. So that's the Mercury side of it. Now this new moon will be squaring up to Jupiter. So usually squares up to Jupiter come across as easier to work with depending on our personal chart, but usually because Jupiter is a benefic, even though it's a square. But essentially what this is about is there may be a bit of this kind of pendulum swinging in terms of our perspective of what's possible. There could be, again, depending on your personal chart, maybe a bit of optimism, seeing potentials, opportunities. And so if that's the case, really grounding them with the square, right? Setting the intention. In fact, that's what we want to do in both situations anyways, because if the pendulum's swinging in the other direction, you're not really seeing the potentials, right? Or there's just not optimism. Taking the action and setting the intention to cultivate what are actually opportunities that we're seeing on some level, that will then help ground it and really help center that pendulum. So the square is all about, really grounding the energy, and in this case, grounding any, possible, opportunities or perspectives or viewpoints that we're seeing. All right, so that's the new moon. Those are the most important aspects with it. Most important thing this weekend, of course. So again, it's going to be early on Saturday for most of us, or the evening of Friday for most of us. So Friday is going to be a great day for doing that clearing, right? What are some things that maybe we want to just kind of clear from the previous lunar cycle within? Maybe get some R&R, rest and relaxation, meditative time, do that clearing, so that there is space for the new beginnings with this new moon. And then subtly noticing more of that energy slowly developing as we gain that momentum into next week. Now, this weekend, Mercury is going to be squaring up to Jupiter exact right around that same time. So this just really reiterates what we're talking about regarding Jupiter, those potentials. But specifically with Mercury, it could have to do with, again, balancing and integrating the practical, which is Mercury, which is what we're reconsidering right now with Mercury retrograde. What are the practical things we're reconsidering in our life? And how we can see that practical stuff, yet also inspire ourselves towards the possible. How can we see things practically and possibly, right? Theoretically with Jupiter, but then also in a very realistic sense, which is Mercury in our immediate environment. So really good to do this, really good for anything that does involve the integration of both the left side of the brain, the more mathematical, rational side of the brain, Mercury, and the right side of the brain, which is more of the theoretical, possible, abstract thinking aspects of the mind, Jupiter. And so this could be really good for discussing things that are maybe philosophical, theoretical, but also practical and tangible. Really good for writing, communication, when we again set the intention to do that, these types of things. All right, and also about Friday too, I do want to mention if you did feel any sort of restrictions, maybe relationship stuff or the enjoyments of life being a little more serious, that energy is going to lift up as we get into Friday, then especially into Saturday with the new moon. All right, everyone, so that's the weekend in a nutshell. New moon in Leo, cultivation of our passion, what gives us joy in life, all right? Cultivating this inner flame, expressing ourselves, having fun, entertainment, getting into our creative side, our expressive side, all of this. Really good to just become acclimated now to this with the new moon, so that as we get into next week, more of this will be developed. Now, I will put down in the comment section where this is for each of the signs, so you can check that for your sidereal sign to see specifically which house this new moon will be for you. I do recommend watching that or looking at those times for both your sun sign, moon sign, and ascendant sign. If you don't know your moon or ascendant, there's also a chart calculator down there as well. And you just kind of want to look at those and kind of blend those interpretations together. All right, so have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I will see you all on Monday for the daily forecast.